Recording. So last class, what we did was, where's my picture? Oh no. I just had it in my hands. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we took our picture of a cloud and we traced it. Now, we put our name on it. That'll help you figure out if your transparency is upside down or not, because, let's zoom this in a little bit. If your name is backward, then you know that you've got it backward. Does that make sense? You can't accidentally, and then that's not going to be the same landscape because it's a mirror image. So make sure your transparency is the right direction because we're going to use this again today. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to give everybody a second transparency. All right? This is so that you don't have to keep retracing and retracing and retracing. We're just going to use the tracing that we did. Okay? And on the second transparency, we're going to try to figure it out. We can erase. So if you make a mistake, don't worry, you can erase. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me pass these out. 1, 2. There's 2 for y'all. Oh, we need a Sharpie. Can somebody get the Sharpies? You might need a big Sharpie. Will somebody pass out these Sharpies to everybody? Thank you. Here, I'm just going to put a pile on each table. And whatever you don't use, just put it in your boxes. So you can't erase this stuff. You have to use rubbing alcohol or, it's really, sorry, the faster the better. Okay, everybody get yourself a transparency. Okay, what we're going to do, and you can use the back of a paper if it helps, like the back of your worksheet. I'm just using one of these white papers that came with the transparency. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my transparency is right side up. That's the first step. Everybody make sure that your transparency is right side up. Remember I asked you guys to put your name on these? Can I get one too, pretty please? And I'm going to put a second transparency right on top. And the nice thing about these transparencies is they kind of have like suction-y quality because it has like static electricity. So they kind of want to stick together. So you don't need to really worry about taping anything down at this point, okay? They're going to move together if anything, all right? So what we're going to need to do here is we're going to put underneath these two, let's go ahead and slide in the black and white picture of the clouds and get that lined up. If you want to, you can take one of these pieces of tape and like tack it down. I'm going to go ahead and do that just in case. And I'm going to lay this down in such a way that I can tape all 3 pages together. So, okay. So I've got mine just kind of lightly tacked down so it doesn't move around too much. Everybody good on that? Let's get everybody's eyes up here. So when we're talking about clouds, what are some of the qualities that make our image look like a cloud? What should these clouds look like? Fluffy? What? Soft? I heard someone say. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they're observing about these clouds? Soft and fluffy. Okay. So when we're doing this, what we want to do is we're the artists here, and how we interpret this is up to us. We get to decide if a value is white or if it is black. Everybody following me? So you want to make sure that some of these lines, when we learn how to do lines, we want to get rid of all these lines. How do we get rid of lines? Turn them into shapes and you fade them out, right? So anywhere I have a line here, I need to on one side have black and on one side have white. If I don't, it's just going to be a line and it's going to disappear. Everybody following me? So the biggest, most obvious one is this one in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and make all that black. I'm going to use my big Sharpie. And you can soften it. You can have a style to it. That's totally fine. But remember, we're not drawing the lines on this transparency that we're drawing on. This is our second transparency. We're not putting this on the original. Okay? So right here, everybody look right here. I'm into a problem. My problem here is that my picture it's got light right here. So I could decide to just make all that black and make my life easy. Or what I could do is I could leave it white. If I leave all that white, then I'm going to be in a pickle. Okay, let's go ahead and trace this big shape in, and I'll show you what I mean. So our goal here is to get rid of all lines. We're trying to make everything into shapes, and we have to decide if the shapes we're creating are black or white. And at the end, we don't want to just be, sometimes you can follow things so specifically that it ends up not looking like a cloud. Does that make sense? It's kind of like, I don't know, do you guys see this example right here of Jimmy Page? It's so chaotic on the jacket that you can't really even tell it's a jacket. Does that make sense? It's almost like too specific. So you want to be careful. Sometimes you might want to soften things. Sometimes you might want to make things dramatic. And really the only way to see what works is to mess it up. Okay? Bless you. Now you guys, I'm in a pickle here because my shape doesn't close. These are lines and I have to turn these into shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and close them. But I've got these lines inside of my shape now that are light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my light Sharpie, my Sharpie pen. It's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make all these lines in here into shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and just guesstimate what that shape should look like. Okay? So I closed it in, and now I'm going to go ahead and trace around it, and that's going to make that contrast. You cannot, are you guys understanding you cannot have lines? Because lines don't close. You need a shape, because you need to know when to stop doing black and start doing white. It needs an edge, these shapes. Now, everybody do the first big shape. Are we good? Because I need everyone paying attention. Argo, put the phone away. Write it out. Put it away. Thank you. Alright, for this next bit, I'm going to need everybody's eyes on me. So try to finish up this major shape. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Alright, let's all look right here. We're actually, for this section, we're going to use red paint to create a two-tone value map in the top left corner. Okay? Now we started with the most obvious shape. It does take a little bit of our top left corner here. So it's not a bad thing that we did the whole thing. Okay? But I want to use this area right here in the middle. It's definitely the hardest area, okay? Because it's in the middle. It has clouds in front of it, and it has clouds behind it, and it also touches the far background of the sky. So there's really 4 layers going on here. We have to figure out what's black and what's white, okay? Anything that touches this black, it has to stay black or white, okay? if I turn this area here black, are we going to be able to see a difference between those two areas? No. So if everybody looks right here, notice I have this bright light right here, and that is a line. It ends right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to decide to continue it there. But in order for me to see this black light, I have to turn the shadow above it into a shape. Okay, so I'm going to decide to make this really light value into black. Even though it's not the darkest area, I have to turn it into a shape. Okay, so I made a little island there. Can you guys see that? Okay. Just watch. I want everyone to watch. This isn't going to take long. And now I'm going to shade all of that in black. Okay? Because if I don't turn it into a shape, you're not going to be able to see it. Okay? Where our goal is to have absolutely no lines anywhere. We have to turn our lines into shapes. So now see how I can still see that there are layers of clouds there because some areas are black and some areas are white. Okay? Now, what about these two right here? Ay, ay, ay. And this shadow right here. And this light right here. So what we're constantly going to be doing is trying to figure out what areas are what shapes. So I'm going to start tracing some more of these areas that I think I could turn black. Okay, so go ahead and give this a whirl, y'all. Try to focus on the top left corner. These should be detailed. They should still look fluffy and light. When you're following the shadows, like get your head in there and really look and see what you're doing. Now I definitely need this cloud in the back to be black here, or else I'm not going to be able to see all the detail of the white cloud in front. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm a little bit concerned because there's 3 layers and I only have 2 colors, black and white. But I'm going to be real careful here. And it's okay, you're the artist, so if you get rid of little areas, like say you erase a line or you don't use a line, that is okay. Or you can like merge it into other shapes. Right now I'm merging the front cloud into the back cloud into one space. And then, y'all, I hate to say it, but I think that whole sky for me is going to be black. I don't know, do y'all see that? On the top of this one, I'm going to put two-tone. That way I know which is the top and the bottom. Words help me figure out if this is the top of my transparency for later. That way when we start doing the other sections, we can really kind of see where things are. Now I'm going a little bit past halfway, just in case. I don't want to have to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to come around and give you guys some Q-tips. If you smudge something, you can kind of lift it up while it's still wet with the Q-tips. And whatever Q-tips we don't use, I'm going to want back out. So don't mess with the Q-tips, there's no way. We have one hand sanitizer, two actually, because there's one right here, over here. So you can use that hand sanitizer, or I have this one pumpable. But I believe, if I remember correctly, you can erase with hand sanitizer and a Q-tip. So everybody, I want everyone to stop what they're doing and look at what I'm doing, pretty please. Everybody stop and look right here. So when we're doing two-tone, I've got an issue right here. Everybody see this area right here? I've got a line that goes through the back, and I've decided to merge those two values and make both of those values white. Does that make sense? So what I need to do is I need to erase, ooh, that squirts, okay. I need to erase that line. Be careful. Oh, it's beneath. Oh, shoot. Ah! Ah! I just tripped it.
Oh, no.
Okay, we're just going to let it absorb. It's like dripped right here. Oh, dear me. Okay. It is actually on the paper below, so I guess I don't have to erase. Hallelujah. Does that make sense? So right there, notice I can't see the top of my clouds. See that shape right there? I need the top of those clouds because that's what makes it look cloudy. Does that make sense? So what I have to do is I have to figure out a way to create that value, and how I'm going to decide to do it is to make it into a shape. Okay? So I'm going to start to like make this, and I'm going to start to just kind of blur my eyes and see where some of these areas that look cloud-like. I see a shadow here, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that one in. But I can also make this line or this edge into more of a shape, which is kind of like how on this one the lightning and stuff is. Okay, you can kind of make a shape into a line into a thicker shape. So I'm asking myself, and you can kind of slide a white piece of paper underneath there and look and see, like, how am I going to fix this problem? I can't see that edge. What I could do is maybe, no, I don't want to do that. I want to bring it forward. So I'm going to just turn this into a nice shadow that follows. I'm going to make this into like a line. How many of you guys are seeing like the issues that I'm talking about, trying to figure out what's going to be black and what's going to be white, and how much of the information you're actually going to lose? I know I can't get rid of the tops of the clouds. The tops of the clouds are the most cloudy part of the cloud. Okay, let's see if I'm down far enough. I have to do this area here and then I'm pretty done. Okay. I just put my hand in all that hand sanitizer. Avoid the hand sanitizer, kids. I don't think that works. It's not worth it. Really does kind of help to blur your eyes to see what is what. Alright, I think I've got mine. I'm going to slide underneath here. Everybody look right here. I'm going to slide to see if I can tell that that still looks like clouds. And I do think that that looks pretty good. Okay, it kind of looks like clouds.
Hello?
Okay, I'll sit down. Claire, your dad's here for you, dear. You can go ahead and clean up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take my washi tape off that I had. I'm going to take a piece of that and I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to my final paper. And this is going to be, I'm going to put a little piece of white paper underneath it so I can see it really clearly. And what I'm going to do is when I start painting here, I'm going to use this as a guide for what's going to be white and what's going to be red. We're not going to add any black to the red. We're just going to, and if you have, by chance, do you guys have like more of a brick red or is it just bright red?
Bright red.
That's fine, it'll work. It'd be nice if we had like a nice ochre color, but alas, we're using the world's cheapest paints. Hip hip. So you don't really have to paint the white areas except if you want to cover up a line that you drew. Okay, so I had at least one line that I wanted to cover up. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint it in. I'm going to get a nice pointy tip and I'm going to start using this as a map.
Thank you.
Bye dear, hope you feel better. And I'm gonna try to keep this, you know, loose, but still not like crazy, like I can't tell that it's clouds. Okay, so and this is a lot of little bitty. You guys definitely need a detail brush. Do you guys have enough detail brushes? That's okay? Okay. So you guys, how you paint this, we want it crisp. Everybody follow me? Like we want this like super crisp. So you don't want to, like, especially on the edges, on the inside, it's okay to be pretty loose on the inside of your shapes that you're painting. Like, I'm not concerned that it's like thick or perfect or anything like that because this is an underpainting. But those edges, if you lose, the hardest part about painting is that you lose your lines fairly quickly. And then you can't remember what's down there. So definitely on the edges, you want to maintain a pretty tight edge. The side of your red shapes that touch the really nice fluffy edge, you really want to be sure that you're keeping that nice and crisp. Chris. How you doing? Now, one thing that I'm just thinking about right now, like I just shared with you guys my stuff from college. I didn't do stuff like that when I was in high school or stuff like what we're doing right now. That wasn't, I had never taken this intense of an art class, I suppose. But, like me doing it now, even though I did stuff like this in college, I'm learning so much right now with you guys and understanding this. Art is never done. You don't just do one thing one time in art and think that you've mastered it. You gotta do these types of things again and again. And so if you do go to college, you know, I would encourage you that if you take an art class, you're like, oh, I did this in my high school class, I don't need to learn this. You're gonna, if you have the heart of a, you know, someone who wants to learn and grow, you can do this 10 million times and you're only gonna get better and better and better. Yeah. And teaching you guys has really helped me understand it a lot better. Like, no one really kind of explained to me why these lessons are really important. But the reason they're important is because you don't always get things exactly right, you know. Oh dear, I made those connect. What have I done? So like when I teach kids how to paint, one of the biggest things that I see as a mistake is kids don't know how to make line into shape. So this is a really good skill to practice making things into shape. And then the other thing that kids do, it gets all muddy a lot of times with painting and you can't really see what's in front of what. This positive and negative is really helping me understand that there's positive and negative space and which one is most important in this situation and how am I going to differentiate between the two. I hope you guys see that. And like I just made a little mistake. It doesn't have to be photo accurate. I can just make it look good, you know, based off of what I'm observing. And the cool thing about paint is if you really do make a bad mistake, you can go in and fix it. Once it dries. If your paintbrush is making scratchy marks, that just means you need a little bit more paint on your brush. Sometimes if I keep dipping my paintbrush in a lot, even though I'm using the same color, it's nice to wash the paintbrush off so that my tip remains really pointy. Did you guys finish with this one? You guys way faster than me or what? Okay, I'm almost there. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, so double check your image and make sure that you have no lines, that the lines have all been taken care of. Like I can still see in mine 1, 2, 3 areas that were from my graphite paper. So I still have to, if I have graphite paper showing, I either need to cover it up with white paint or I need to figure out how to make it into a shape here. Okay, I'm done. Did you guys finish? No? Now, there is like this large area here in the middle of my cloud, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh, this might be better if I put in a few more of these. Look at these little, everybody look right here. See these little red spots in the middle of my cloud that tell me it's fluffy? I might need something in this area here. So I'm going to go back and look at my black and white one and see if I can find something to put in there because it's looking a little bit flat in that area. So I'm going to put my two-tone one right back onto my black and white picture. Get that lined up and see if I can't put in a little bit more detail here. I like those ones. You really kind of blur your eyes to find those details. And I like those, so I'm going to go ahead and use those. But then you guys, I have one area that I need to erase. So I'm just gonna use some white. I might have to layer it up a little bit. Okay, I like that better. How'd you guys do? Did we get it? Okay, you guys ready to go on to the next one? Because the next one's harder. Are you ready? Okay, we need a new transparency. Everybody grab a new transparency. Let's go ahead and on our black and white sheet here, let's move all this out of the way, let that dry for a bit. I'm going to go ahead and line up my black and white lines, or my black lines, on my picture here. I'm going to grab another transparency, fresh and brand new. I'm going to line it up a little bit lower so I can tack all these in place. I'm still just using that same piece of washi tape to do this. Are we ready, you guys? Almost there? Everything hurts.
Yeah, I did leg day.
Ah.
That was a couple days ago. It still hurts.
Yeah.
I had yesterday. It hurts. Actually, arms today.
Okay. So now what we're going to do, you guys, is we are going to try to make a value map. Okay? So a value map is really kind of just circling all the different values that you see in a picture. Now, typically what you do to do this is you make a really dark photocopy, and you make a really medium, and you make a really light one. I have a really dark one and a medium one here. And that helps you kind of find the values a little bit easier. So this was one of the lighter ones here. But what I did for you guys is when I printed this, I did up the contrast on the black and white one. So it actually has more contrast than the colored picture here. So you should be able to find these values. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to start tracing in this top right corner all of the different values. We're going to have a dark, a medium, and a light. Okay? We want 4 values. So it's a good idea. Let's go ahead, just for the sake of it, while we've got our paint wet anyway, let's go ahead and on here, let's go ahead and mix 4 different values. And let's go ahead and make a little block for the darkest value. The white of the paper is a 5th value, but we want 4 different reds. Okay? So now I'm just going to add a wee little bit of white to my red and get kind of like a charcoal, like a really dark pink. So that's slightly lighter. Now that does not look like very much contrast on the screen, so I'm just going to add a wee little bit more white to that. I'm going to get a 3rd value. Actually, that one just is not light enough. That looks better. Then for the lightest one, I'm just going to take some white and add a little bit of red to it. That way it's mostly white. Now on here, I think I need to get rid of this dark one, and I think I'm just gonna go mostly white. Yeah, for the lightest one. I'm gonna try to make this a little bit more dramatic. And right now we can remix these colors later, but this one we're probably not going to have time to paint today, so we're just kind of thinking about what value study we're going to use. So this one's going to be really, really white. So I've got 5. I'm going to go ahead and erase, which one was broken? I am not going to do this one. I don't want to ruin my pen, but I'm going to do the red, the dark pink, the blush, and then the pastel pinky white color. My top 2 values were a little bit too close in value. Now, this box, the last box, we're really trying to figure out what's in front and what's behind with positive and negative shapes. In this one, what we're really learning on this next one is number 2. It says create a 4-tone value map in boxes 2, 3, and 4. We're going to do this on the entire paper for everything else, okay? So we're going to do the rest of the image a value map of it, okay? So when we're doing the black and white study and we're figuring out the shapes, we're going to do 3/4 of this image in 4-tone value study. That is going to allow us to really figure out how your image is going to look as you're building up these layers. Okay? Are you guys ready to move on? Okay. So what we're going to try to do, what I can tell you is it's best to start with big shapes and then go down to littler shapes. Okay, try to get as much detail in here as you possibly can. So I already have my 2 transparencies on top of each other, and I'm looking for the 3/4 of this. So even if you just take, everybody look right here with your eyes, pretty please. I'm going to look for the darkest value. I've got the darkest value here in this big piece that we were doing. But even inside of here, see how it gets darker near the bottom? So I'm going to try to blur my eyes and try to find the shape of that darkest shape value. Sorry. And it's kind of hard to do. It's actually easier to do on the screen. Look at the screen. The screen makes it a lot easier to kind of see where this stuff is. Now this is going to be my darkest value. Let's go ahead and label our values. I'm going to make the darkest one 5, my second to darkest 4, my second to lightest 3. Oh, sorry, 4. Not 5. 4, 3, 2, and then 1. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and label this shape that I just made, this really dark one. This is going to be a number 4. This is my darkest, and the area around it is going to be a 3. Yeah. 5 is the white of the paper. So you're going to have 5 actually. The areas that you leave white of the paper will be the 5th. But we're just going to do 4. You really don't need that many values. It's fun to do for fun, but when you're painting, you really only want 3. You want dark, medium, and light. So 4 is already a lot. Now in this white, look at the top of this cloud right here. This white one, this is probably going to be, there might be areas of white paper. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out what areas will actually be white paper. So I'm going to put a W for white. I'm going to leave that area white right there. And there's a little area here. And it really does help to blur your eyes to figure all this out. Or not focus them, I guess. So I'm going to make that white as well. Okay, which leaves the rest of this area. I definitely have two tones left, the two lighter tones. So I have 1 and 2 in this area here. I've got white of the paper. The lighter of the 2 is going to be a 1. And I don't think there's any, I think this is really just a 1 and a 2 situation on the top. I don't think there's any 3 in here, but I haven't put any 2s in yet. So now I'm trying to trace, I'm thinking about my value study and what I'm doing. It also kind of helps me to, I don't know if it's my old lady eyes or if it just helps me be out of focus. I like to lean back to really see the values. That way they kind of, you know when you get farther away from your paper it looks more in focus? Or it like looks less bad craftsmanship. Everything kind of blurs together with the more space you get. So kind of putting my head back, I can kind of pop out those darker values a little bit easier. So this one's gonna be a 2. This one's gonna be a 1. Now what we're doing right now, you guys, is we're making a paint by number. That's all we're doing. We want to do this for all 3/4 of the page. What time do we got here? We get out of here at 1/4 after. Okay, what I'd like everyone to do right now is we're going to go ahead and pause on this. We're going to come back to it. We'll probably have about 10 minutes at the end here. But right now, because we're not going to have enough time to paint, let's go ahead and put all our paints away. Okay? So everybody go and clean off your... We are clearing the boxes, but we're gonna watch a love movie. But now I'm thinking we might need to do a little overview of job interviewing and stuff.
Reed did like a culture day on job interview. Like for.
Oh, did you guys?
Yeah, I
Did you go to that, Ivy?
I did. I forgot.
Because it was like for resumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
Do you want us to put this over in the
Yes, you guys go and put those in the drying rack, and then put all your other supplies in your blue boxes. But put away your, yeah, so all I want out on your tables is what I'm doing here, and then you can use the rest of the time to trace.
Sorry for your recording, you're just gonna hear me badly whistle.
No, it's fine. This is really just for us, it's not for the internet, it's just, I don't put it on the actual channel, it's just for kids who are absent,
Perfect for me.
yeah.
I'm gonna put it in the big shirt.
Thank you, bless you, yeah.
Oh, so,
Actually, let's just leave them in the tubs, we're gonna need them again.
alright.
Yeah.
I have no clue how this happened.
Are they glued together?
I think so.
That's weird. It happens, I guess.
Then, like, it kind of needs glue anyway because of
There you go.
lifting.
Yeah, just put it back in there. We're gonna use good brushes soon, but yeah. Just leave it in your tub.
I'm gonna catch it and ordering the whole station. I don't know where.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
These are true.
Someone just asked, so you have to wait till they come back. Alright guys, we still have about 10 minutes till we need to clean up, so we're gonna go back to figuring out our grid. Now as I'm doing this, I am trying to keep my line work a little bit fluffy feeling, right? Because I want it to feel like fluffy clouds. So don't just smooth out all the lines. You want a fair, that's kind of like the character of the piece is those fluffinesses. And sometimes it helps to look up at the color one. Sometimes you can see some of these things a little bit better with different colors in the scene. Now y'all be careful, I just totally smudged my lines. So make sure you're not putting your hand too tightly on the paper. Now, one thing that I will tell you guys, look right here, I did this middle big cloud first, so I got the dark values figured out and I got the light values figured out. Now, as I'm doing this other cloud, I'm looking back and seeing, okay, that value right there was a 2. I'm going to make that value over here a 2. So I'm comparing, it's almost like the middle cloud is a key that's going to help you figure out and solve the rest of the image. Y'all, I don't want you to we still have 10 minutes of class. Get your workout and start tracing, please. I already said this multiple times. Get it out. We're working. No. Multiple times I asked you to keep drawing. We're using these 10 minutes after right now to figure out our maps. That's 4, maybe that's. Now, what is really important to realize is if you have like 2 shapes that are connecting and they're the same number, you have to realize there's going to be no line between them. They're going to turn into one shape. So right here, I have a number 4. That means that around it, I can't have a number 4. All these other shapes touching it need to be a different number other than 4, or else there's no contrast and that shape disappears. Now the other thing is, imagine while you're doing this that you're actually painting them in these values that we created. If there's not contrast between them, all of these shapes are going to blur together. It's going to get very muddy. So we're really trying to make sure that we're creating contrast. So if you have a 1 by a 4, that's going to be really strong contrast. If you have a 2 next to a 3, the contrast isn't going to be as extreme. It's going to be a little bit more gradual. So in reality, this picture probably has, I don't know, 100 different values. We're trying to simplify it into 4. So, you know, if I look at this image, the colored one, there's only 2 really super dark areas. That's up at the top corner and in the middle here. Maybe back here, like 3 areas here. But because I'm only using 4 values, I'm going to have to use that value in other places as well. Hey Siri. Alright, let's just go to the bell, y'all, because all you have to do is slide your picture into your tub. So we still have 5 minutes. There's nothing else to clean up. So just keep working. We got 5 minutes of class left.